life at Mount Carmel was different, guys. It was a community, and we all took care of each other. It became a family where everyone knew everything going on in everyone's lives. But it was also physically difficult. I wasn't in this message when they lived in Palestine, where it was even rougher. So the difficult conditions at Mount Carmel were not as difficult as Palestine, but they were difficult. We didn't have a lot of amenities, but we did have a house. We did have a bed to sleep in. That was nice. But then at some point we decided that we just were getting too many people in the group and we needed a bigger house. So we ended up tearing down the houses that we had and building the Mount Carmel, the compound everybody saw on the news. It was our church, it was our home. We didn't call it anything other than Mount Carmel. But in tearing down our old houses, we were losing our individuality a little bit and coming together even more as a family. So bringing this community together as one was a lot of the reasons for this as well. Being in one place would just make it easier too for a lot of the things that we had to do. So we did. We tore down these houses. Destruction was the fun part. We did try to save as much material as we could. I remember pulling up oak wood flooring and saving. These were tongue and groove pieces of wood, long, thin pieces of oak wood flooring that were precious because they were just worth so much. And we wanted to save as much of that as we could, even if we didn't use it in the new building, and which we did. I'm an organizer, so on the day of the raid, there was stacks of wood outside my window. I know that because I put them there. But we saved as much as we could from these old houses. And this was the time period when Current Affair from Australia or some other country came to do a show on us because we were a cult and they had to talk about it. And they interviewed us as we were working, and a lot of the women were there doing the manual labor, the hard work. Not that the men weren't there doing that too, but I just want to point out this was a community of men and women and children all working together. While we had feast events that would bring the people from California back to Texas, so the community got bigger, it didn't mean that everyone in California was worth any more than those in Texas, because those of us in Texas that had been there the whole time worked right alongside those that had been working in California when it came time to tearing down these houses and building a new building, hammering nails and everything that a construction worker needs to do. Both men and women were out there doing it. When it came to taking care of our families, the women had to do that part. That's just something men aren't as good at, and women can do that. But when it came to everything else, we all did it together. So talk about strong women being able to hold down the fort in Texas while those of us that were young and capable of working could go to California and work. The rest of us, some of the people there, Perry and Mary Bell, Catherine Madison, Edna Doyle, and Trudy, just Concepcion, we had some elderly people there that were still out there working, doing what they could, even if they didn't have the strength to lift something really heavy. They were still working. It was just, in my mind, it was so much respect that I could give every single person at that property that gave all of themselves to God in such a way that it didn't matter if you were 10 or 100. You were a part of that family. You gave of yourself, and we all got back from that family. We all received. If my kids needed to be watched because I needed to take my young baby to to town to go to a doctor's appointment, somebody jumped up and watched my children for me. There was no question that anything I needed, I'd have it. So the community and the lessons that we were learning, not just the new light and the seven seals being broken, but learning about men and their thought processes, learning about humanity and the way people think was also a part of what we learned. It wasn't just the Bible. It was such an entire overall experience. That's why women were wearing long dresses, long skirts that went down to the floor. We didn't show our calves. We didn't show our hips. We wore wide, flowy shirts that went out. There was a purpose for all of that. And in order to allow a man to concentrate and learn a lesson, we had to free his mind from, ooh, let me think about that woman over there with the really curvy hips. So yes, it was in reverence to God, but it was also to help fellow man. And I'm sorry, but kindness to your fellow man makes you do more than just smile. It makes you actually take action that you know in your heart will help that person. And that's what life at Mount Carmel was like on a daily basis, doing everything we could to help the person next to us.